Hello, my name is John Teply, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Robin Berry. And she's had an amazing career, an amazing life. She started out actually in civil engineering and working with cartography before it was all computers. And but her love was always in painting and that kind of working with expression. And then she has worked with Parks and Rec as a teacher. And currently she is part of the Seventh Generation Project, and we're very excited to be working with her. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying a rainy day at the coast.
Pouring. I spent a tour of the coast. It was a 6-week tour of Oregon's coast. It was just myself and my paint, and I think I had one day that was maybe foggy and not drizzling. So
yeah.
But that's Oregon, though, and that's part of the beauty of where we live. I live in Portland, and you live in.
I was in outside of Oregon City on a farm for about 10 years, but then before that, I was up in Washington. Even more rain.
Yeah, well, good.
Some of it in Olympia for the cartography, but I grew up out on the coast of Pacific County, which is out by Long Beach, and lots and lots of rain.
Yeah, well, you're used to it.
Painters, though.
You're used to it. So tell me about starting a painting.
Okay, I would love to, because that's it's a big deal, especially if you're outside. So I'll talk as if I'm outside with watercolor.
Yes, sounds good.
Big challenge. You got to figure out, how you're going to break that little square of white paper up and somehow depict, what you see before you, and hopefully you have some good feelings about what you see.
Sure.
With watercolor, I really try to get the feelings in there, the mood. And sometimes it is rainy and cloudy, but I have the best luck when I am really feeling attached to the location, and try to keep it simple. So I do often try to, divide that real estate efficiently, but it doesn't always work. You get caught up in the details and you overpaint many, many times.
Well, looking at your work, I do get the sense that you're really trying to capture the mood of that place at that particular time.
Yeah.
And also it seems like there's like a dominant feature that you seem to work around.
Yeah.
Like it might be a stream or a person or a horse, but you'll have something dominant, and then you tend to work around that and develop the mood and the rest of what you're looking to do.
It would be great to put more people or animals into the paintings.
I know.
But I did hear one of your comments on that, and I thought, boy, it would be great to do that. I'm working on it.
No, it's like so often you'll see a bunch of plein air paintings and it's like, where's the people? Where's the birds?
I know.
I mean, it's like you'll be in this amazing place and there's all this activity, but we often leave that out, because we're concentrating on the landscape and
exactly.
And I know how that works, because I've
done
paintings where it's like after I finish, I go, I'll think to myself, there's no birds or anything here, and there's all kinds of birds,
Yeah, I have this little piece. I don't know if it's on my website, but I had these pilings going out at Baker Bay up in Washington, and they were receding into the water.
Yes, yes.
And I just put on the grass, I just put this character in a sweatshirt carrying a bucket toward the pilings, and he kind of just looks like another piling. But the trick is, God, if you could get him to just somehow be apart, and that reminds me of not man apart. I mean, somehow, yes, in the landscape. But we often, well, for me, when I put man-made objects or people in my paintings, it tends to destroy the organic feeling of the landscape, So I'm working on trying to make them a little more elemental of, part of the design.
Sure, sure. Well, also what I think is interesting about your people is you're quite interested in the detail of the people. Like the clothing they're wearing. I mean, you don't just put Did
you see? I did that one, just that one girl in the sand, or I don't know.
Well, there's a couple of your works that I was looking at.
Oh, okay.
And it's not unusual for artists to just kind of put a gray blob there or something. Like there's a person, but you are interested in the color and the quality of the people that you paint.
Yeah. And then we all have our little I call it my I guess it's a bucket list. Like, before I die, I want to try,
Uh-huh.
And I think it would be fun to symbolize, become symbolic and primitive in some of these, and see what happens. Something like, being influenced by native work, or I'm thinking of Ray Munot, this artist who did these funny little fishermen and funny little boats, I don't know. I want to go there sometime, but we'll see if I can do it.
So tell me what you feel the difference would be. I mean, right now, you when you paint, there's a lot of texture and mood. There's a lot of similar colors to what you see.
Yeah, local color. Yeah.
What would the difference be if you were painting more symbolically?
I think it would be multi-dimensional, perhaps even a twisted perspective, or a multiple perspectives at once, or I want to say isopleth, but that's not right. Where you could be looking at more than one view at the same time, like a primitive painting does.
Sure.
And flattened, as well as just designed. So I'm thinking about people as triangles, and this project made me think about the people stooped over gathering agates at the beach, and if it would be possible to somehow just abstract them to the point of being little geographic shapes, picking up little shapes, or would they be putting little shapes back where they found them?
That sounds like an awesome project.
Isn't that an awesome project?
Yeah.
I was thinking of the agate collectors, and I heard a rumor that some of the old retirees are putting their agates back.
I was once walking with a person, and a funny thing that I've noticed is men often pick up rocks and throw them in the water.
Oh,
not as well as women. They tend to leave them alone. And this person got mad at me because, it was like this rock had like thousands of years it had taken it to get to this point on the beach. And I was like picking things up and throwing them back in the water.
Yeah.
Well, somehow I was thinking of the idea of what you were talking about putting things back, or or are they picking them up? you know.
Exactly. And I couldn't come up with a way to really depict the motion of putting down or picking up. And so these things are the project has got my imagination going on these concepts. Another concept would be the two elevations of the water, you know.
Yeah,
The people at one location and then the people at another location, and then two elevations showing simultaneously in a piece, you know.
Well, that's what we can do with paint. You know,
I know, I love that. Yeah.
You know, we can explore different kinds of worlds, different kinds of dimensions, and ways that we don't actually experience the world. We can paint it.
Of course, I have lofty ideas about these things, but they don't always work out, you know.
Oh yeah, well that's the hard part. That's the hard.
Oh, it's so much fun though.
Yeah. Okay, so you're looking at a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Tell me how you arrive at your first brush stroke.
Interesting. Well, with watercolor, if you're brave and you don't do a full wash anywhere, you just go ahead and lay down something significant to begin with.
Yeah.
It's really great feeling if you can use a fully loaded natural bristle brush, and you know how those feel. And if you've got a genuine 100% rag, you know, piece of paper.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love the mechanic of the bristle letting go of the water against that surface. I just love that. And, you know, it's great if you can get yourself to really fully load a really big brush and go back or go forward and then come back again, you know, and then just, you know, get everything it's got to give you, just pull it all out of there. And hopefully it's a big chunk of land, or it's a big rock, or it's a big,
yeah. And often the tricky part is to let it be.
Oh yeah.
You know, because that's especially with watercolor, where you know, with oil paint, there's, you know, more control. But
I know. Yeah.
But with watercolor, at least if you're working juicy, you know, you don't know what you get.
Yeah. But more often than not, you know, you do a wash, a kind of diluted wash to get you started. A little safer approach. But boy, once you get some rich paint on that paper, it's there to stay.
Yeah, yeah.
As you know, if you've used watercolor.
Yeah.
What I have here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that one painting. It's to your right of the framed ones, and it looks like it's a water area. And does that make sense? Which one? It's kind of the bigger one on the wall there.
Oh, the biggest one?
Yeah, yeah.
The biggest painting is acrylic. And I tried to do something with that direct stroke, you know. So after I did some background, I tried to get those strokes on there deliberate without intending to change them too much. And that's down here at where they pick the agates up. So that area is kind of fun to paint. But I think all the others are watercolor.
Now is that plein air?
The bigger one without the frame is in the studio. Yeah, not outside. But I had been, you know, just there, and I was sketching, and it was just a few minutes home, and
so
it helps.
So part of my question is your beautiful reflective qualities of the water. And,
yeah.
And so did you capture that with your mind or with the camera? That's my question.
Oh, that was camera. Yeah, that was camera. I did have a picture which was fairly colorless. You know how they are. They don't get the real color. It would have been great to paint that one on site. I think maybe I can go back and try that.
Oh, you know, reflections in water is so complicated, you know, and
the acrylic is not my chose. It's not my favorite, but you know, sometimes it's just such a handy thing.
Yeah.
It you know, it doesn't stink up the house, and oils are so much nicer though.
Yeah, I'm not an acrylic fan, just because it seems like
Artificial.
oil paint. You like squeeze it out of the tube, right? And there's this blob of color, and it's perfect. You know,
I know.
it's luminous and it's beautiful. And
Buttery.
Point, you know, it's hard to improve on, and that's the same with watercolor too.
Oh, I know.
But acrylic paint, I just don't have that same experience of
No.
of the unique beauty of the blob. You know, it just, you know, kind of flat.
I did have a chance once to, I don't know, I guess it wasn't a chance. I had some open acrylic, and I tried painting a big field, just basically a big field, you know, with a big kind of rubber spatula thing, like something that you might scrape a boat with. It's a rubber thing.
Sounds like a great experiment.
It was. So you know, I'm trying to make those acrylic act like an oil, but the painting turned out great, but it's probably one of the only ones that I was really happy with, that it effectively looked like an oil, you know.
You know, and that also is true, you know, because you know, you can make beautiful paintings with acrylic. People do all the time.
People do.
We both know friends and colleagues there, and they do these amazing things with acrylics. But I still think that the beginning part, it's just not quite the thrill of this, like this beautiful oil paint or water.
So technique is fun to talk about. Sure.
So now, is there tell me about your brushwork. Like, how do you you know, once you begin a painting, do you have a systematic way that you approach it at some point, or are you always experimenting, and is it always open to something?
I'm with you. That's a really good question, because if you've talked to many of us, or very many watercolor people at all, you know, no one thing works all the time. No one technique works all the time, and you just have to keep experimenting. Well, maybe some people can get it to work all the time, but I have to change my approach based on the mood and the topic. And sometimes I use, you know, sometimes I fiddle with pen and ink, you know. Little whimsical things, which call it something different. And then other times I do the conventional, you know, where your brush strokes are really just little, you know, kind of the old-fashioned things that everybody paints, you know. And then Eric Sandgren's got me trying to be a little more expressive with some, like, you know, the braided stream being the brush strokes.
No, actually looking at that, I can see Eric Sandgren.
You know, you can see his, get the drama, get the.
No, that's really nice work.
And so other times, if things are really, really going right, the brushwork is not yet, I've not yet taken off the sizing. So I'm really not overworking it. Like no one spot gets more than 2 or 3 passages, you know.
Yeah.
As one passage, but it's hard to do.
So now part of the first 7th generation project, we talk about, you know, solidarity, intergenerational solidarity with, you know, with those that will inhabit the earth after us. Can you talk about your feelings about that?
Oh, yes, that's kind of a scary topic. And it can not be very fun sometimes, you know.
No, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, because I think how wonderful it is to have been affected by people and artists or work or environmentalists in my past, you know, and to wonder if we could intentionally affect those in the future. And, you know, did people who affected me, were they doing it intentionally, or was I just affected by their work because it was spontaneous and, you know, generated through some other means? But this is a deliberate, you know, like we're attempting to generate a message for the future. A message,
most definitely
perpetuate into the future.
And the other interesting thing I think about the project is those of us that are part of it today, we won't know how it turns out.
No, yeah. So I do have one big challenge in my mind, and that is, how can I possibly speak to people who don't even go to galleries, who don't even care about art? Those are the people that we really need to speak to, and they don't look at art. I mean, the people that just don't slow down long enough to soak the environment, literally, the way artists do soak up the environment, you know, every square inch of it. So, you know.
I think part of the answer to that question is, one, you have to make the event spectacular. And I think a 2-foot by 1 mile mural,
that's a good plan.
Gets people's attention. And then for those that will be going to the Lincoln City Cultural Center, and you can see Robin's work there, you know, they may be just out on a drive and they go, wow, what is this?
What is that? Yeah.
And then, you know, paintings that would never have been seen, you know, they will be looking at them, and we have a lot of really sensational artists, and it's
I really feel privileged to get to participate. I hope I can live up to something that people enjoy, and, you know, somehow still send a message of appreciation, you know.
Well, I've full confidence that you will.
Thanks.
So in painting, you know, there are like certain intangible things, like, you know, feelings, love, spirituality. Does that enter into your work, or is that a subject matter that artists can address?
Well, I know it's part of my experience, and it's hard to describe it sometimes, but it has to do with being ultra sensitive to my surroundings when I'm, you know, either painting outside or just, you know, gathering visual food for artwork. It's very hard to describe. So I don't know how to convey it, you know, in a concrete way. But I just have a powerful connection to locations, certain locations. And when I am in the right spot, I can feel a connection to the prehistory native people that were there, or even before that, just the natural history that was occurring at that location.
So you have a sense of both human native history and natural history.
And then I think to paint the landscape, I feel really good if I can let my mind wander into those areas. And so it's a bit more of the spirits from the past is what I'm feeling, So that would be my interpretation of what you're trying to talk about, maybe the sentiment or the.
Well, I mean, like when you paint, ultimately all it is paint.
Yeah.
And you're struggling with value and color and square and somehow trying to connect most the artists that I admire, they always seem to, like there was something that they were trying to connect with, and
yes, okay,
and even why people paint.
Bother. Why do they bother? Yes.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, and I tried to convey some of this before to even though it was a beginning painting class, I tried to convey, and I have this little handout, and it's funny, I popped it out of my file today because you got me thinking about it. And I taught this group four ways of drawing. You have movement, and you have light. You have to have movement, your hands moving, right?
Yeah.
And you have space, but you have connections. So I think of maybe what you're talking about as the connections. So I described it to them as I have a connection to the thing I'm looking at. It's going in my eyes and coming out my hands and coming onto the paper, but then it's bouncing off the paper and going into your eyes and into your mind and your body and your heart, and you get to interpret. So as the artist, you can be conscious of all that loop of,
Yeah.
It gets kind of heavy, it kind of blows my mind when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. So we don't obviously think about it consciously all the time.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that any final words you would like to say?
Well, I think the project is great. It sounds like it's going to be something that I can learn a lot from. I have to say it's really all about the places that we need to care for. Yeah. So it's really all about them, the planet, or even just the little, pebbles on the beach.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, I've been talking with Robin Berry, and she will be doing a painting for the 7th Generation Project, and you can come to the Lincoln City Cultural Center. It will be on exhibition from July 13th through the 17th. And we hope to see you all there. Thank you so much, Robin. This was a delightful conversation.
Thank you so much, John.
And we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.